Welcome to today's spontaneous edition of me talking in my house and talking about an album. When I say spontaneous, I mean I wasn't really planning on doing this. A lot of them I don't really plan on doing them. It's because I feel like doing them, and I just know I'm going to do them at some point. If you only watch these videos and you don't watch some of my other videos, I hike a lot. And today is Monday. I usually do these things on Sunday when I'm bored, and on Monday I go hiking. Well, today is Monday, and I tried to go hiking, and we drove to the place, and we got to the forest. We walked through the forest for about 15 minutes, and then there were two guys, one of them in a uniform, like a security uniform, and one of them just dressed like this. And, well, he wasn't wearing a KISS shirt, but he was just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. And they said the forest is closed. Nobody's allowed to enter the forest for the next 5 years. So we walked back to the car, drove around to another town, or a different part kind of the same town, and we went to go in a totally different part of the forest up the mountain, and somebody else told us, hey, you're not allowed to go there because it's closed, because there were fires there 6 or 7 months ago or something, which there are every year, and so for some reason the forest is closed. So I came back home. I had already set my day to go hiking, took the day off work, and so I got back, and I'm bored, so I had nothing to do. So I figured I would do this to kill some time, as well as entertaining you people. So there you go. And I'm going to talk about, as you can see, Quiet Riot's, I would call it a classic, Mental Health. I was going to talk about it at some point, but I thought I've been listening to this album quite a few times recently. So I thought, I'm kind of in the mood to talk about this album. So without further ado, that's A-D-O, not A-D-I-U-E-U, which is the French for adieu. Without further ado, there it is. This is Mental Health, Quiet Riot. This album came out in 1983. What a great year that was. I was thinking about what else came out in 1983, and I thought of one of my top high-level favorite albums ever, Motley Crue, Shout the Devil, came out in 1983. Peace of Mind, Pyromania, Bark at the Moon, Black Sabbath, Born Again. I don't know if Defenders of the Faith came out in 83 or early 84, but anyway, Quiet Riot, Mental Health. Before I get to this album, I'll talk about, as I always do, my history with Quiet Riot. I've got a couple of props here today. My history with Quiet Riot is very long. It goes back to 1983. That's 39 years. And it's not deep. I don't have a deep history with them. I never bought anything other than Mental Health. I never bought the follow-up, which was Condition Critical. Never at any point. Never bought it on an album when I was 14 or 15 years old when it came out. 15, I guess. Came out in 85. Never bought it on an album or a CD. Whatever came after that, Quiet Riot 3, never bought that. Just lost interest, but Mental Health is fantastic. And they were one of the first bands I ever saw. They were the second, Quiet Riot were at the second concert that I ever saw. First concert I ever saw was Rat and Motley Crue. Rat and Ozzy. Rat was opening for Ozzy at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto in April 1984. And my second concert was this one, which I'll show in a second. It was Scorpions in August 17th, 1984, and Quiet Riot was opening. So Quiet Riot, they were part of the second concert that I ever saw, but they were the fifth band that I ever saw, because there were also two other bands on this bill. This was called the Heavy Metal Hurricane. This was Scorpions on the Love at First Sting tour. I'm not sure. I can't see the screen, so I don't know if I'm holding it too high or too low, but there it is. This was the Heavy Metal Hurricane, Scorpions on the Love at First Sting tour with Helix, Kick-Axe, and the aforementioned Quiet Riot, who I'm going to talk about today. So my one and only time seeing Quiet Riot, 38 years ago, 1984. But I do have one more prop that I'll show you, showing my devotion, at least at the time, for Quiet Riot. This was an old picture from, I guess, must have also been 1984. Look at this classic and handsome guy. This is me at my house, or my parents' house in Toronto in 1980. That must have been the summer of 1984. And let me turn it around. If you can, there's a little bit better. If you can see, there I am. And I'm wearing a shirt that says, I'm a cool dude. And Iron Maiden is on my bedroom wall behind me, as well as Vince Neil, a live shot of Vince Neil. And over here, we've got a motley crew. We used to have these big flags. I don't know what material they were, but these black flags with white print. And you can see over here, I also have the big Quiet Riot. These were huge. They were bigger than, much bigger than a poster. They were about, what is that? I don't know, 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters. I think they were square or rectangular or something. I don't think I ever had a Quiet Riot t-shirt, but I did have that Quiet Riot flag. I'm not sure how well, if I'm showing it properly, if the camera's focusing on it, but there I am at 14 or 15 years old. This was 84, 85. Quiet Riot, Iron Maiden, Motley Crue represented there in my bedroom. That's all I have to show for props today. And I never did have a Quiet Riot shirt ever. I remember very well going to that concert. I went with my friend, this guy called Jeff Baker, who I was really good friends with at the time. And I think I was just as excited about Quiet Riot as I was for Scorpions. And I remember saying to my friend Jeff, I can't wait to go to this concert. I'm going to buy one of those. At the time, Come On, Feel the Noise was a big hit. And Kevin Dubrow in that video, I think everywhere he did, he had the black and white striped shirt that had Quiet Riot up here on the chest. And I swore I was going to buy that shirt if they had it. Either they didn't have it or they had it and I never bought it. I did buy a Scorpions, I can't remember if it's a bootleg or a real shirt, but I did buy a Scorpions shirt. It was one of those, I guess now they call them raglan style, like 3/4 sleeves, white sleeves with a black shirt. And it said 6-string Sting or Attack Sting, something like that on the back. And it had the Scorpions on the front. So I never did get my Quiet Riot shirt and never have had one since. What else can I say about Quiet Riot? This album was massive for me. I say that about a lot of albums, but it's true. Not in so much that I liked it, but just at the time that it came out, I was 13 years old. At that point, I was into, I'm going to say this every time, Kiss since 1976. And then in 80, I was starting to get into AC/DC, Black Sabbath. I think Van Halen was 80 or 81, I think, because Fair Warning was the first album I got. So it was 80 or 81. I can't remember if I had Shout at the Devil first or Metal Health first, but I did have Metal Health. And that was kind of my introduction into what would later become known, much later, decades later, become known as hair metal, cock rock, glam. I'm not sure if that applied to Quiet Riot, but that's, LA, Hollywood, Sunset Strip style, Motley Crue, Poison, Rat, Warrant. So that was a little bit later. Bullet Boys was also a little bit later. So this was kind of Van Halen was before that. But this Metal Health and Shout the Devil were huge albums for me, although I always loved and still do love Shout the Devil much more than Metal Health. And they kind of fizzled after Metal Health. A lot of people, Kevin Dubrow, the singer, got into a lot of trouble. He had a big mouth. He was kind of controversial. He said things that other bands didn't like. So I guess other bands didn't want to tour with them. Other fans, if you're a fan of Motley Crue, who Kevin Dubrow talked shit about, you didn't like Condition Critical when it came out in 85, and they flopped. But I don't know if I realized it at the time, but looking back on it now, Kevin Dubrow is an awesome singer. Nobody really talks about him in the way they talk about, obviously, Dio, Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson, Jeff Tate, even Vince Neil, I guess. But what a great voice that guy had. Very, very, I think very powerful, very strong. Quiet Riot was a pretty good band. They just didn't have the legs, I guess, to keep going. Is there anything else I should say about my history with Quiet Riot? No, so I'm going to go right to the track list. And this, I guess that's that picture on the back is an outtake from the Come On, Feel the Noise video, I think. And Kevin Dubrow had the black and white, not just the t-shirt, but the mic stand was wrapped in black and white stripes. I really wanted that shirt. So getting to this, the first song is Metal Health, Bang Your Head, which is interestingly, I think, not subtitles is Bang Your Head, on this. On the original album, I'm sure it was Mental Health, parentheses, Bang Your Head. Mental Health Will Drive You Mad. Stupid lyrics. At the time, I just thought they were probably pretty cool, but I love the song. It's a classic. It's a great anthem, but the lyrics are really bad. How does it start? I'm an axe grinder. Well, I'm an axe grinder, pile driver. And I'm an axe grinder, pile driver. Mama says that I never ever mind her. Got no brain. I'm insane. The teacher says that I'm one big pain. I'm like a laser, 6-string razor. I got a mouth like an alligator. I want it louder, more power. I want to rock it till it strikes the hour. Bang your head. Mental Health Will Drive You Mad. Fantastic, killer chorus. Just very, very big. It had everything what people liked about music at that time. Classic killer song, Mental Health, Bang Your Head. Come On Feel the Noise is next. Now that song I remember very well. When I lived in Toronto at this time in 1983, there was a radio station called CFTR. It was 680 on the AM dial, which I think now and for many years has been called 680 News. It's an all news station. But back then they did play music. And they were the first one. Other radio stations, probably every radio station in the US and Canada had this top whatever number at whatever time. And I think on CFTR it was the top 6 at 6. So people could call in. I don't know if they had the phones open for an hour before that or whatever, and you would call in with your favorite song. And then the top 6 that got the most votes, they would play those, count them down from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 at 6 o'clock. And Come On Feel the Noise was, and I know Q107 in Toronto later had the top 10 at 10 or top 11 at 11. I think it was top 10 at 10. I remember in 84, 2 Minutes to Midnight and Aces High were always in the top 2 spots. Seemed like forever. So Come On Feel the Noise was always number 1, maybe number 2 on CFTR, the top 6 at 6. And this was when I used to, and probably many people my age, maybe even a little bit younger and for sure older, used to tape things off the radio. This was before YouTube, obviously, before the internet even. And if you wanted to listen to music, you had to either go and buy the record or the tape or the 8-track, I guess. The 8-tracks were kind of dying at this point. Or you could tape things off the radio. And I used to tape a lot of things off the radio, especially the metal shows, the late night metal shows. But I had I remember this so well. You remember Stupid Things. I had these little blue, kind of transparent or opaque blue cassette tapes. I think they were 3M was the brand. And I wanted to fill it. They were, I don't know if they were 30-minute tapes or 45-minute or whatever, but I wanted to fill it. I don't know if it was both sides or one side with Come On Feel the Noise. So every night, I would make sure I was listening to the radio at 6 o'clock, and when they announced or when they were about to play Come On Feel the Noise, I recorded. So I would have it once at the beginning of the tape, then again and again and again and again. And so I just listened to that song on repeat all the time. I couldn't get enough of that song. That was probably for me 1983. I don't know if there's a song that I liked more than Come On Feel the Noise. I eventually, of course, got very, very tired of it because I was listening to it probably 18 times a day. But I can't express enough how much I loved Come On Feel the Noise. And it's a Slade cover, of course. I don't know. I didn't know Slade at the time. I think I did know that it was a cover or learned shortly after that it was a cover, but I didn't care. I loved Come On Feel the Noise. And then, of course, they did Mama, We're All Crazy Now on their next album, which was another Slade cover. Maybe that was why they also failed, because they tried to repeat the same thing. Next is Don't Want to Let You Go. I remember that. Don't Want to Let You Go. That's probably now I said I've been listening to this album recently. Don't Want to Let You Go is probably my favorite song on this album. Now, I think I always liked it, but in the recent days or weeks I've been listening to it, I love Don't Want to Let You Go. It's kind of not exactly a ballad. It's ballad-esque. It's not the, it's what could I compare it to? If you know the song, you know what it is. It's not like a sappy, extreme more than words, which I like that song, or Poison, Every Rose Has Its Thorn. It's not one of those sappy acoustic. It is kind of a power ballad, if you want to call it that. But man, that's a killer song. Everybody wants to have a girl like you, but I'm the one and it's right. And then somebody comes along and says he plays your song. My wish becomes his delight. He'll try to take you from me. Don't want to let you go. You're special. You're one of a kind. So don't want to let you go. I love that song. Don't Want to Let You Go. Probably my favorite song. We'll see. Ha! Slick Black Cadillac, number 4. This was maybe my favorite at the time, other than Come On Feel the Noise. This is another one that when I've been listening to it recently, maybe hasn't held up as well. It sounds a little corny, cheesy. Actually, lyrically and in terms of the title, it sounds like it could be a rap song. The way that, rappers, I guess, like to talk about money and cars and how much money it was. Driving in a slick. What's the first line of Slick Black Cadillac? I don't know. I can't remember. They got the cop. I know this is not the first line, but got the coppers on my trail just for me and APB. What's the chorus? Slick Black Cadillac. It's got solid gold hubcaps. It makes me feel like a king. Don't need a thing. Driving in my slick. It's okay still, but it comes across a little bit cheesy. As I said, I think it just hasn't dated very well. Slick Black Cadillac, number 5. Love's a Bitch. This is another slightly ballad-ish or ballad-esque song. I was never a big fan of it then, nor now. It's okay, but not a favorite. Now, if I remember, I think that was was that the last song on side 1 of the record? I think it was. And then Breathless is next. Breathless is, I don't think I realized it at the time, but when I've listened to it recently, it reminds me of Iron Maiden. It doesn't sound like Iron Maiden, but it's a ding, 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 ding. It's got that gallop that Iron Maiden has. You Leave Me Breathless. That song is okay too. It was never a favorite and remains not a favorite, but it's fine. Next, Run for Cover. That was a good one. Watch Out. They possibly opened with that when I saw them at this, let me go back to the props. They might have opened with Run for Cover. You better run for cover. I'm a hit and run lover. Run for cover tonight. And I think there were no lyrics. Not for sure. When I had this in 1983, the record, there were no lyrics, which I've mentioned before. I hated when albums didn't put the lyrics in. It was just that, like, not cellophane, like that plastic, opaque plastic sleeve that I hated with no liner notes, no lyrics, nothing. And this is a remastered version from like 2000 or something. Also no lyrics in here. It's got like some, it's got the track listing there. It's got kind of a revisionist, a more modern, for the time it was written in 2000 or whenever it was, about the making of the album. A picture of the guys in Quiet Riot. And yeah, no lyrics here either. It's got the original liner notes and that picture. I always thought Rudy Sarza was very, very scary looking. What was I talking about? Breathless? Was it Breathless? Oh no, Run for Cover. Yeah, you better run for cover. I'm your hit and run lover. Good song. Good classic heavy metal. Not Judas Priest or Iron Maiden, British, new wave of British heavy metal, but good American heavy metal, hard rock. Early 80s hard rock. Run for Cover. Battle Axe is next. Battle Axe was, it's just a filler. I've talked before about filler. There's nothing wrong necessarily with filler. For me, filler is just little things that make the album a little bit longer. They fill it up. Battle Axe is probably a minute and a half, maybe 2, a little bit over 2 minutes. Just a guitar solo, Carlos Cavazo. It seems like at that time, everybody was doing these little guitar solos, although I can't think of any other examples of them other than Van Halen doing Eruption 5 years previous on their first album. But it's obviously, Battle Axe never made it anywhere near the same level as Eruption, but pretty good. When I've listened to it recently, I think, that sounds pretty good. It sounds like how heavy metal, hard rock should have sounded in 1983 and did sound like. And I think Carlos Cavazo, nobody ever really talked about him as being a great guitarist. I think from this era, again, these hair bands, the LA bands, Sunset Strip bands, Hollywood bands, cock rock, whatever you want, hair metal, whatever you want to call it. I think other than, there were no real guitar heroes from there. Randy Rhoads, I guess, with Ozzy, although Randy Rhoads was in Quiet Riot, but nobody knew them at that time. Warren DeMartini from Rat, I guess, was one, deservedly, because Rat is one of my favorite bands ever. George Lynch, I guess, was one. Maybe Jakey Lee kind of made it to that, but Carlos Cavazo, he's kind of in there with Mick Mars and I don't know, so a little bit later, CeCe DeVille. I guess they were good, but nobody worshipped these guys. And Carlos Cavazo ended up being in Rat for a fucking awesome album, Infestation, one of my possibly my favorite Rat album ever, even better than their 80s album. But I'm getting off track here. So Battle Axe, a little guitar solo from Carlos Cavazo. Dun, 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 dun. Let's Get Crazy is next. That could have also been a favorite at that time. That was even more, I guess, like 3 classic metal hard rock songs. Let's Get Crazy, Run for Cover, and Metal Health, Bang Your Head. Let's Get Crazy was probably my favorite at that song. That opening riff, dun, 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 psh, the gong. And even then, I was 13 years old. One of the lyrics, it's the first, is it the first line of the second verse? Want to kiss your lips, or want to kiss some lips, not the ones on your face. Even when I was 13 years old, I knew what he meant. And I thought, oh my God, like, should I be listening to this? Is this like wrong for me to be, am I too young to be listening to this? But man, oh man, Let's Get Crazy. Let's get down. Let's get crazy. Killer song. That, again, very anthemic. Possibly could have been a hit. They didn't release that one as a single, but I think it would have been very successful. Everybody loved that song. Still do. Is there, how much left here? One and a couple of bonus tracks here. The last one on the original album from 1983 was Thunderbird, which could also be a favorite. Maybe it wasn't so much at the time, but in more recent times when I'm listening to it, Thunderbird is, it's ballad-esque, or balladish, ballady, whatever, as I said about Don't Want to Let You Go and Love's a Bitch. But very nice. And in retrospect, reminds me of Queen. The piano, I don't know if it's Kevin Dubrow playing the piano. It was supposedly a tribute to Randy Rhoads, who had died a year, I guess, earlier, before this came out, or before it was recorded. And I think it had been written, but the lyrics were changed to reflect Kevin Dubrow's relationship with Randy Rhoads. Fly away, fly high, thunder, fly up, Thunderbird, fly. Very big, grand. As I said, it's got piano. Beautiful, beautiful song. I like it way, way more. As I said, some songs, you like them better when you're young, and then as you get older, like Slick Black Cadillac, they don't hold up as well. Other ones, they were okay at the time, and now you really love them. That's for me. That's like me with Thunderbird. Great song. So that was it. That was the end of the 1983 album, the original. And just a couple of things quickly from this remastered version from, it says 2001, I guess this came out. A couple of bonus tracks. Danger Zone. Never got into that one. By the time I heard this song, this album had been out for decades, or I don't know how long. And I don't know if it was, I guess it was leftover from this era. Okay, I guess it would have fit in well with the album. I'm not sure if it was recorded at that time. I'm not sure why they would have left it off. It seemed like it would have fit in. I don't know if it would have made the album too long, but Danger Zone, it's okay. And then the last song, the 12th song on this version, is a live version of Slick Black Cadillac. Why can't I say Slick Black Cadillac? Terrible. Listening to it now, a lot of these bands back then, they had horrible introductions. The stage rap or stage banter introduction to song, like Paul Stanley saying, the song is about alcohol. Well, I know what the song is then. It's Cold Gin, because you only have one song about alcohol. And Kevin Dubrow introduced Slick Black Cadillac as saying, this song, in this version, this song is about a car. Well, I know what song it is. And then he drags it out, and then he says, do you know what kind of car that is? Very 80s, very cheesy, outdated. You can kind of see maybe why people who were born later, when they listen to that now, they maybe kind of laugh at it. But the music was just as good as anything. Oh, and then there's a part in this live version, in the middle part, the band stops, and oh, this is embarrassing. Kevin Dubrow makes these car noises. There's no music. He's just going, I don't know, it sounds more like a motorcycle than a Cadillac, although I've never heard a Slick Black Cadillac. Maybe that makes that noise that Kevin Dubrow was making in that song. But anyway, that's Metal Health. And just looking at the pictures now, I'm reminded of Kevin Dubrow had the worst wig ever known to man. Gene Simmons was pretty bad. Kevin DuBrow was worse. He had two. The one was not too bad. It was because, he had naturally curly hair, as you can see, but not very long. And all of a sudden, his hairline kept going back and back and get shorter and shorter. And all of a sudden, he had like this big mop down to here, like kind of like Paul Stanley's hair in Crazy Nights era, when I guess everybody was getting hair extensions or wigs or plugs, whatever they were called. Help, we'll call it. Kevin DuBrow got help, and he had this big mop of hair. That was not too bad. At least it matched his, it was black and it was curly, black and curlies. So it was not too bad. Very obviously it was a wig. And then sometime later, maybe in the, I don't know if this was in the 90s or I don't know when it was, late 80s. He had this horrible, horrible blonde, straight, he looked like the guy from Spinal Tap. Was it Nigel Tufnell or David St. Hubbins, whatever? Harry Shearer, not Harry, the guy that does all the voice on The Simpsons. He looked like that, just this flat, horrible looking hair, Kevin DuBrow. Awful. But there you go. And I wonder and Kevin DuBrow, of course, died. Oh, he died what, 2005, 2006, 7, 8, around there, somewhere around there. It'll be interesting to see how Quiet Riot would be viewed now if they had, actually they are still continuing. There's nobody in the band. Rudy Sarzo is in the band. And what a shit show Quiet Riot became from the late 90s to, I don't know, into the 2000s. They had Jizzy Pearl from Love Hate singing, and I like Love Hate, and I like Jizzy Pearl, but in Quiet Riot, no. And who else did they have? Paul Shortino replaced Kevin DuBrow. I kind of forgot about him. Just a revolving thing. It'll be interesting to see if and Frankie Benali died, I guess, I think about a year and a half, or no, maybe over a little bit, maybe around 2020, sometime in 2020, he died. But it would be interesting if those two, Kevin DuBrow and Frank Benali, were still alive, if they would get, I'm sure at this point, because everybody gets back together, if they had been back together with Carlos Cavazo and Rudy Sarzo, although Rudy did not play in this album, Chuck Wright did, just like Rudy didn't play on Diary of a Madman, Bob Daisley did, and Rudy didn't play on the Whitesnake self-titled 1987 album. I can't remember who played bass on that, but he was credited and pictured on all those albums. He's kind of like a ghost, this guy, Rudy Sarzo. But maybe Quiet Riot could have, could still be doing something decent now if they hadn't died. But not as I said, not a big Quiet Riot fan, but man, this album was a killer album for me and brings back great memories. So there it is, Quiet Riot. Bang your head, Metal Health.